It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Do you have your Bible this morning? Hold your Bible, hold them up. And turning the Bible to the book of Exodus, chapter 15. The book of Exodus, chapter 15. We are in the series entitled Survival 101. How to survive as a Christian. And not only survive, but thrive in the Christian life. We're looking at the deadly deeds. And last week, we looked at discouragement and talked about how to overcome discouraging situations in your life. This morning, I want to look at its cousin, disappointment. Go look at disappointment. Disappointment, like discouragement, is a common experience of life. And there are many things in life that disappoint us. Events can disappoint us. Marilyn and I had the opportunity to go to an old school funk concert some time ago. And one of my favorite old school guys, I won't say his name, I won't discourage you from going to see him if he comes to Atlanta. Been around a long time, old school funk. But he spent the whole time going back and forth with the stage and microphone saying, sing, sing, telling us to sing this song. And finally, I was near the stage, I shouted, we paid you, you sing. He didn't have it anymore. And so it was just disappointing. Events disappoint. Things tend to disappoint. Get a gift for Christmas in a big old box wrapped real nice and pretty. Open it up and you go, what in the world is that? Things disappoint us. But by far, the greatest disappointment of all are people. People who let us down. People who are unreliable. People who don't appreciate it when you've done something for them. People who are ungrateful, who tell you one thing and then do another. People who hurt you either intentionally or unintentionally. A broken promise, a misunderstanding, they cop out, they let you down. Well, to make it in life, you've got to learn to deal with people. And one of the secrets of success is learning how to deal with people who disappoint you. Well, if anybody was a pro at dealing with people, it was Moses. Moses knew how to deal with disappointment. He was the most patient man around this day. The Bible says he was the humble and meek man, the most meek man of his time. No man put up with more complaining than Moses. Think about this. He was the pastor of a 2 million congregation, 2 million people. And all of them mumble and grumble and complain. Yes. The favorite pastime of the Jews at this point when they were delivered from bondage was complaining. That's one of the reasons why it took them 40 years to get across the wilderness. They kept complaining. And God said, well, I'm going to test you again. And they complained. God said, you got to get another test. They were very quick to criticize their leader. They would challenge his leadership. They would doubt his decisions. They would criticize and question his motives. At one point, they just said, Moses, you just brought us out here to die. Give us somebody else to take us back to Egypt. And almost like Moses, this is the thanks I get. That's what I did to Pharaoh. This is how you thank me. Well, the incident we're going to look at today is a water problem. You got your Bibles open in Exodus 15? The Israelites had many water problems. And the first problem they had was too much water at the Red Sea. So how are we going to get across? And the next water problem is they didn't have any water. So they're looking for water. Then the third problem here, what we're going to look at, they came to a place called Mar, where they found bitter water. And they weren't able to drink it. I want us to read Exodus chapter 15, and we're going to learn some lessons about disappointment and how Moses reacted. Exodus 15 verse 22 says this. Then Moses led Israel from the Red Sea, and they went into the desert of Shur. For 3 days they traveled in the desert without finding water. When they came to Marah, they could not drink its water because it was bitter. That's why the place is called Marah. So the people grumbled against Moses, saying, what are we to drink? Then Moses cried out to the Lord, and the Lord showed him a piece of wood. He threw it into the water, and the water became sweet. Then the Lord made a decree and a law for them. There he tested them. He said, if you listen carefully to the voice of the Lord your God and do what's right in his eyes, if you pay attention to his commands and keep all his decrees, I will not bring on you any of the diseases I brought on the Egyptians, for I am the Lord who heals you. Then they came to Elim, where there were 12 springs and 70 palm trees, and they camped there near the water. Now, God led them to a place called Marah. Marah means bitter. So we're talking about a bitter, difficult situation. And from this lesson, from this story, we learn 3 facts about disappointment. And I want you to write these down in the back of your bulletin. Lesson number 1. Lesson number 1 we learned is this. The greatest successes in life are often followed by failure. The greatest successes in life are often followed by failure. Look at that verse again, verse 22. Then Moses led Israel from the Red Sea. They went into the desert of Shur. For 3 days they traveled into the desert without finding water. Here they experienced failure. Now I want you to notice something. That if you read the chapter, only 3 days earlier, they had a victory at the Red Sea. They were flying high. It was a spiritual mountaintop. In the first part of this chapter, they're singing songs of praise. God has delivered us. What a great day. We're unbeatable. We're invincible. And 3 days later, they're grumbling. And they're griping. And they're complaining. And they're murmuring. The fact is, folks, after every mountaintop, there's always a valley. There's always a valley. Later on, they entered the land of Canaan, their promised land. And they first took over the largest key city in Canaan called Jericho. They marched around the walls of Jericho, and the walls came tumbling down. It was a tremendous victory. They defeated the biggest enemy in the country. When you read on, the very next week, they go to a little dinky town called Ai, which is a small village, and they were soundly defeated. They got a little cocky, a little confident, and they were defeated. Here's a fact of life. It's the AIs that get us, folks. Sometimes the big crises of life, we know who to depend on. God, I can't do this. I need your help. Please help me. We depend on God. But on the little problems of life, the daily irritations, we get presumptuous, and we think, okay, God, I can handle this one. But folks, it's the AIs of life that get us down. Now, let me ask you this question right here. Have you just had a big success in your life? If you have, then watch out. You're being set up. You're being set up. Because the greatest successes in life are often followed by failure. My question is, why did God lead them to Marah, where it was bitter and they couldn't drink the water? Well, here's the reason why. Look in your Bible, verse 25. It says, then the Lord made a decree and a law for them, and there he tested them. You might want to underscore the word tested. Listen, this is a test. God led them to Marah, a bitter disappointment, in order to test their reaction. Do they really trust me? I know they trust me when I'm parting the Red Sea. But do they trust me when it gets bitter? Do they trust me when it's hard? Do they trust me when it's disappointing? What does disappointment say about you? How do you handle it? How do you handle disappointment and discouragement? How do you handle it? The greatest successes in life are often followed by failure. You better write that down and remember. But that leads us to the second lesson. And the second lesson is this. The greatest services in life are often followed by forgetfulness. Often followed by forgetfulness. Notice Israel's response to this bitter situation. Verse 24. So the people grumbled against Moses, saying, what are we to drink? Now, that's a typical response. Complain and gripe and grumble and criticize and so on. But folks, I want you to think about it. Israel had a short memory. Keep in mind, folks, it's just 3 days after the Red Sea, not 3 years, not 3 months, not even 3 weeks. It's 3 days after the Red Sea. They just had an incredible miracle. 3 days later, at the first sign of trouble, they're already doubting. I know I'm talking to somebody this morning. We've been going coasting along, things going great. Then the first sign of trouble, we're doubting God. They're already criticizing, and they're giving up. I think their motto was, when in doubt, grumble against Moses. Poor Moses. I know it's over now. I still feel sorry for him. I mean, what a fickle group. 1 minute he's the hero, the next he's a zero. 1 minute he's the star, the next minute he's the scapegoat. Yet he never gave up. By the way, have you noticed how quickly people forget things? You know, it's human nature. Many folks suffer from Janet Jackson disease. What have you done for me lately? What have you done? Children forget parents. Oh, I got away. Bosses forget employees. Spouses take each other for granted. What do you do when you're disappointed in somebody? What do you do when they let you down? Well, here's some things. Write this down. When you're disappointed, somebody disappoints you, don't curse it. Don't curse it, all right? Don't try to retaliate. Don't try to get even. Don't strike back. The Bible says this in Romans 12:14. Bless those who persecute you. Yes. Bless and do not curse. All right, now. Are y'all with me? Bless. Don't curse. It's the typical reaction for most of us in this kind of situation to retaliate, to curse. If I had been Moses, I would say, you guys figure it out by yourself. I'm going on to the promised land. You go back to Egypt. I'll see you later. Then I have a few cuss words in there. All right, I've heard pastors cuss. So. Forget you. That's what I would have said. Another word, but you know what I'm saying. Don't curse. Here's the second thing. Don't rehearse. Amen. Don't rehearse it. Wow. When you're hurt, the tendency, oh my goodness, God help Fred McClure. Because when people disappoint me, my tendency is to play it over and over in my mind. What they did. Why they did that. Why they left. Why they won't come. Why they did this. Over and over and over. Here's what Job discovered, Job 5:2. He says, to worry yourself to death with resentment would be a foolish thing to do. Here's what Paul said in Ephesians 4:31. Get rid of all bitterness, anger, and slander along with every form of malice. In other words, folks, don't rehearse it. See, every time you rehearse a hurt, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. It gets blown out of proportion. It is a very dangerous habit because that can become addictive and your life can become consumed by it. Yeah. Amen. So don't curse it. Don't rehearse it. Number 3, don't nurse it. Don't nurse it. Don't feed it. Listen, don't throw yourself a pity party. Nobody wants to come. All right. Most folks think you probably deserve it anyway. So don't invite them. Don't allow this disappointment to make you negative and bitter. Yeah. Now, here's what Paul said in Ephesians 4:26. And married folks, listen to this one especially. Amen. Do not let the sun go down. All right, Pastor. While you are still angry. Yeah. And do not give the devil a foothold. That's right. Man, when I allow anger in my life to last even overnight, I've already given the devil a foothold in my life. I'm just being honest. I'm just talking about me. I ain't talking about y'all. I'm just talking about me. When I'm angry at my wife or anybody else, if I hold on to it, I have allowed the devil to have a foothold in my life. Anger turns to resentment very quickly. And here's what else Job said about it, Job 18:4. He said, you're only hurting yourself with your anger. It's like Charlie Brown. Somebody made him mad. He was in a group. He said, I'm gonna take some dynamite, strap it to my chest, and next time they make me mad, I'm going to blow it up. Well, he's only hurting himself. Right? Don't allow it to make you negative. Now, human nature, when we're hurt, is to draw into a hard, protective shell. And sometimes people say, I'm not going to let anybody get close to me. Can you imagine Jesus doing that? Huh? And this is the one we're following, folks. Can you imagine Jesus returns to heaven ahead of schedule before he goes to the cross? And angels say, Lord, what are you doing back? He said, I had a bad experience. I just wasn't appreciated. You know, in fact, I found some people on earth who didn't even like me. So I decided to just chuck it, throw in the towel, and come back home. I'm sitting on my throne in heaven. Forget them. Can you imagine that? So what do you do when you're disappointed with people? Well, here's what Moses did, verse 25. People are grumbling against him. They're upset at him. He's disappointed them. Here's what it says. Then Moses cried out to the Lord. Amen. That's what you do, folks. You don't curse it. You don't nurse it. You don't rehearse it. Here's what you do. Disperse it. Mm-hmm. Disperse. I know it sounds like Jesse Jackson. But I want you to remember it. Disperse it. In other words, you give it to God. Amen. You let him have it. You let it go. You don't hang on to it. The Bible says Moses cried out unto the Lord. See, when you're disappointed, you don't talk to others about it. You talk to the Lord. Other people can't solve it. Amen. Talk to God. And that's the mark of a leader. He took it to the Lord. He dispersed it. So instead of holding a pity party, and instead of gossiping to other folks at the office about your boss, instead of trying to line up people on your side, disperse it. Amen. And just give it to God. Amen. Here's what Peter said. 1 Peter 5:7. He says, cast all your cares on him. Yeah. Why, Peter? Because he cares for you. Amen. He cares for you. He says, just cast it all on the Lord. Just give it all to him. Give that disappointment, that situation, that person, whatever it is, give it to God. Say, God, you take it. Yes. And then when you give it to God, here comes the last step. When you give it to God, here's what happens next. Let God reverse it. Let God reverse it. You let him turn it around and bring good out of it. Amen. Can he do it? Yes. When we read the Bible, we say he can do it. Yes. When we're in church, we say he can do it. Can he really do it? Absolutely. Listen, if anybody had a right to be disappointed, if anybody had a right to be resentful and discouraged and bitter, it was a boy named Joseph. Yeah. Have you ever read about Joseph? Right. Joseph had 11 brothers, and one day they all ganged up against him. All turned against him, threw him in a pit, sold him into slavery. Did y'all watch Roots? Yes, amen. Can you imagine your brothers selling you into slavery? And the next 40 years of Joseph's life were all downhill. All because of what somebody else did to him. All because some people hurt him intentionally. But God had a plan for Joseph's life. Greater than even the hurt. And when you read the story, Joseph rose up to a position of power in Egypt, where he was even later able to save not only his own family, but the whole nation of Israel, which brought in the Messiah, Jesus Christ. And look, when he finally met up with his brothers again, after being separated for so many years, after going through all the heartache and the pain, and being separated from his mama and his dad and everything he knew, here's what he said. 50-20 Genesis. You intended to harm me, But God intended it for good. You meant to hurt me, but God intended it for good. You meant to bring me down, but God intended it for good. You did everything you could to destroy me, but God intended it for good. So listen, church member. There are people who will hurt you in life. Welcome to the human race. Sometimes accidentally, sometimes on purpose. They want you to fail. They want you to blow it. They want you to lose your job. There are people like that in this world, in this negative dog-eat-dog world. They mean it for harm. They mean it for bad. But God means it for good. I mean, folks, if you're a Christian, Romans 8:28 applies to disappointments too. He works together all things for the good of those who love him. The bad things, absolutely. When people hurt you, absolutely. When people disappoint you, absolutely. If you are a child of God, nothing comes into your life by accident. It's all Father filtered. Even the hurt is meant to teach you something. So let God reverse it. Because Moses handled the situation correctly. He responded in the right way. He didn't nurse it. He didn't rehearse it. He didn't curse it. But he dispersed it. Let God reverse it. And here's what God did in verse 25. Provide a solution. It says that Moses cried out to the Lord. And the Lord showed him a piece of wood. And he threw it into the water. And the water became sweet. From bitterness to sweet. It was a miracle. That's what happened here. Moses found a tree in the desert. He uprooted it, threw it into the water, and it became sweet. But now watch this. Watch this. Watch this. Notice what it says in verse 25. It says, then the Lord showed him a piece of wood. Now, it doesn't say God created a piece of wood. It says God showed Moses a piece. What am I trying to say? It had been there all along. It was already there. And if Moses had been wrapped up in self-pity and everything, he would have never seen a solution to his disappointment. It was right there. He would have never seen the thing that turns bitterness into sweetness. Come on, somebody. When you're all wrapped up, and as long as I'm wallowing in my hurt, and I'm nursing and rehearsing and cursing, I can't see. God already has a solution. He already has it, folks. God had the tree there. Folks couldn't see it because they were mumbling, grumbling, and complaining. So the greatest successes in life are often followed by failure. And the greatest services in life are often followed by forgetfulness. People won't appreciate it. But then, lesson number 3. The greatest shortages in life are often followed by foolishness. Often followed by fools. You see, folks, there is a turnaround eventually. Because the greatest shortages in life are often followed by fools. Here's what it says in verse 27. It says, they left Mar. Then they came to Elim, where there were 12 springs and 70 palm trees. And they camped near the water. Here it is, folks, an oasis. Springs and palms. They're in Palm Springs. That's where they are. Listen, to find 12 springs and 70 palms in the middle of the Sinai was paradise. A place of absolute delight. More than enough water. You read the chapter and find they spent over a month there, about 42 days, dates and palms and good stuff. Why? The greatest shortages in life are often followed by fools. The question I want to ask you is this. How far is Elim from Mar? How far is this place of delight from the place of disappointment? Well, if you were to get a map, and I'm going to ask KK, Wesley, and Marilyn, Take off your glasses. Come here and help me. Y'all come up for a second. I want y'all to see something. I'm sorry, I'm grabbing your hand, sweetheart. How far is Elam? Come over here. Mary, I want you to stand over here. Stand over here. Let's go over here. And I want you to be Elam. So all you got to do is look pretty and smile. This is paradise over here. This is Elam. Come a little bit over here. All right, right here. That's Elam. That's Elam. All right. And I want you to be Mara. You bitter, disappointed, it's hot, you irritated, you tired. Now you stay right here though. You got to stay right here. You're Mara. You got to stay right here. Come on, Mara. You just stay there, Mara. And you're the Israelite. All right, you just got out of Egyptian bondage. God just parted the Red Sea for you. You're a living victory. Can you give me a victory? A victory sign? Come on, man. You're happy. You're excited, okay? So, stay out there. Now, here's what's going on. Here's what's going on. How far is Mara from Elam? All right. How far is Mara from Elam? If you take out a map of Sinai, here's what you learn. Elam is only 5 miles from Mara. Okay. So God has led the Israelites out of Egyptian bondage, and He's led them to Mara. And what are they doing in Mara? They're griping. They're grumbling. They're complaining. They're disappointed. It's bitter. It's hot. What they don't know is Elam is right down the road. They stopped at Mara. And they're complaining. And they're negative. But Elam is just 5 miles down the road. Wow. Now watch this. Watch this. A few years ago, there was a story of a group that crashed in the mountains. And maybe you saw the movie, I think it's called Alive. And when they crashed, several people died, some survived. But the way the survivors survived, they began to eat the dead bodies of the folks who had died in the plane crash. Well, after they were rescued, they were shocked to realize that only 6 miles from where they were was a resort hotel. 6 miles down the road. Now, what's the point of the story? Why is it in the Bible? I think one of the points of the story is this. Too often, we stop at Mara. Too soon. We quit at the wrong time. And we get stuck in bitterness and disappointment. So how do you get from Mara to over here? Where's paradise? Wait, let me tell you something. Now, sometimes we think, well, Mara, I must have missed God's will. No, Mara is on the map. Amen. God did bring you to Mara. He wants to test you. But folks, He doesn't want you to stay in Mara. Amen. So how do you get from Mara to Elam? Here's what you do. You just keep on going. Amen. And you keep on going. Amen. And you don't stop until you get there. Amen. Everybody's going to spend some time here. You don't want to stay here. And so the only way to get from here to there is to keep on going. Yeah. See, here's what I noticed in the Bible. God didn't say, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take Elam and bring it to them in Mara. I'm sorry. That's not what He said. No, Elam is over here. And the only way they're going to get from Mara to Elam is to keep on going. Amen. To don't quit. You know what I'm saying? Too many times we stop too soon. The answer is to keep on moving. Yes. Keep on doing what you're doing. Yes. Keep on trusting God. Yes. Don't give up. Yes. Don't give up on your dream. Don't give up on your church. Don't give up on your man. Keep on going. The answer is Elam is right down the road. Yes. This oasis is right down the road. Amen. If you don't stop. Yes. Sometimes people come to me and say, well, I don't feel like praying anymore. I don't feel like reading my Bible. I don't feel like coming to church anymore. I don't feel like tithing. I don't feel like getting involved. I don't feel like trusting. What should I do? Here's the simple answer. Keep on praying. Amen. Keep on trusting. Amen. Keep on coming to church. Keep on reading your Bible. Keep on. They say, but my heart just isn't in it. Well, if you were to wake up, and I don't mean to be glib, if your heart isn't in it, here's my short answer. So what?
Amen. That's right.
If your heart isn't in it, so what?
Yes.
If you were to wake up tomorrow morning and call your boss at work and say, I know you want me to work wholeheartedly. I know you want me to feel gung-ho about my work. I know you want me to put my whole heart into it. I just have to be honest with you. My heart's not in it today. I really just don't feel like coming. And because I know you don't want me to be a hypocrite, I think I just stay at home, watch TV and eat chips because I don't want to be a hypocrite. And when I feel better, when my heart is more into it, I'll be back. Okay? The fact of the matter is this. Most of what gets done in this world is done by people who don't feel like it. Maturity is living by your commitments and not by your feelings.
Amen.
Don't just do it because you feel it.
Amen.
You just keep on going.
That's right.
You just keep on going. And so this morning you may feel like you're living.
Yes.
And tomorrow,
Wow.
it's bitter. It's distasteful.
Yes.
It's disappointing.
Amen.
But God don't want you to stay there.
Amen.
And so I don't know about y'all, but I'm going home to Eagle.
All right.
I said, I'm going home to Eagle.
Amen.
And I'm going to enjoy the dates and the palms and the water and all that God has for me. Yeah, I got to go through mine. I got to experience some disappointment. I'm not staying there. And I want to encourage you not to stay there either.
Amen.
Let's give them a hand. Amen. Appreciate y'all doing a great job. Y'all can sit down now.